Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Al Ditton. I'm with Underground Noise Webzine. Please hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it if you did. Like it, share with your friends. This is Webisode number 52. I'm here today with Dan Lorenzo as my guest. He's from the band Cassius King and another band, I can't remember the name of it. Patriarch something. Gonna have to refresh your memory.
Patriarchs in Black and Cassius King. You
Cool.
get it though? Cash is king.
I totally dig it.
Yeah. It's
It's a
something my nana's, my grandmother's husband used to say. He had money and I was poor. And he used to always say, cash is king.
Is that how you guys came up with the band name?
That's how I thought of that. Yeah.
That's very cool. Well,
Yeah.
welcome, Dan.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. You're welcome. The first question I would like to ask you, Dan, is who are your influences?
I'm wearing an Aerosmith shirt as we speak. So I'll turn 60 years old in January. So I grew up on the first album I just fell in love with was Kiss Rock and Roll Over. That was my first album that I just said, I got to be a guitar player. I'm in love with this kind of music. And then Aerosmith Rocks, the shirt I'm wearing. Then I went to AC/DC Highway to Hell. Then I got into Judas Priest and Slayer and Exodus. But as far as influences, it's funny that a lot of people think I sound like Tony Iommi, and I of course I have so much respect for Tony Iommi, but I'm really straight. I haven't been stoned or drunk and or hungover, and I mean I've never been hungover. I haven't smoked a joint in 30 something years. So I don't like super long songs, but I do love the Black Sabbath, the tuned down vibe, the dark doomy vibe, but I prefer a Kiss arrangement of songs, get me to the verse and a chorus, verse, chorus, little guitar solo, maybe another chorus, and get out of there. So I feel like Kiss is my influence as far as arrangement, but everybody thinks I sound like Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath, even though I wouldn't put them as a band in my top 10.
I can definitely understand that. That's cool though. I like a little bit of Black Sabbath here and there. Some songs don't move me as much, but there's a few
Yeah.
that do.
Oh, of course, there's a ton of them.
Yeah,
And
Laguna
mostly the
Sunrise.
guitar. Well, the guitar, the bass, and the drums is my favorite thing about Sabbath. No disrespect to Ozzy, but I love Sabbath because of the bass and the guitar.
Ozzy's got to be what, 70 years old now or so?
He's older than we are, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, he's up there. I'm only 43 and I'm still trying to climb that mountain. So
All right.
I'm pretty sure I'll get to the peak at some point. So
All right. I hope so.
yeah, me too. The second question I would like to ask you is, how would you describe your new album to our listeners? Would you say it's a lot better than previous stuff, or how is it different?
Everything else previously was horrible in comparison. Now, it's if you know my riffs, you weren't familiar with Patriarchs in Black. That's my project with Johnny Kelly, the drummer from Typo Negative and Danzig, and we have a bunch of different singers, including Carl from Corrosion of Conformity Blind. But Patriarchs in Black album came out July 1st, and Cassius King came out October 21st. And musically, in my opinion, it's very similar because it's me on guitar and I wrote the music. There's one song on the new Cassius King album that the bass player Jimmy Shulman actually wrote. But so, I mean, to me though, when you add a different singer like Jason McMaster, he's writing the melody lines and he's singing. And some people have given the comparison of when Ronnie James Dio joined Black Sabbath, and that's kind of a cool comparison. I love Dio's voice, of course, but Cassius King, the first album, Field Trip, and this new one, I don't see it as being marketably different. I mean, there's always room for growth and some experiments, like on the new Cassius King album, Dread the Dawn. We have a song called Genesis where there's flutes at the beginning. And I wrote this nice little acoustic thing that was actually the same tuning as an old Aerosmith song. It's an unusual tuning. And Jason said, don't freak out. Or what do you think if I wanted to add flutes to this? I'm like, it's a great idea. Why not? We didn't do anything like that in the first album. And like, I'm not, I'm not closed-minded. I know I don't, what I don't want to sound like. I don't want to sound like, really commercial metal or hair metal. But I love all styles of music. I'm not big into jazz or country, but I love heavy metal, thrash, doom. I love hard rock. I love classic rock. I love some hip hop. So I just write, and I don't think too much about, oh, this album sounds like this or whatever. It's a brand new album. I'm excited about it. Sounds great to us, and we hope, doing this interview and stuff like this will turn more people onto Cassius King, and they'll agree.
That's really cool. I like that. Is there a favorite song off the new album that you like the best?
I mentioned the song Genesis. I just think it's so interesting the way it starts, and the whole song I love. But we have a video with our buddy Michael Gilbert from Flotsam and Jetsam playing the guitar solo, and the song is called Abandoned Paradise. That's the first song on the album. So usually when a song is the first song on the album, it's one of your favorites, right? But my wife and a lot of people seem to like the second song on the album the best. As I Begin to Turn, I believe is the song title. But I love the whole thing. I'll listen to the album the whole way through, whether it's Cassius King or Patriarchs in Black or Vessel of Light, my other band that I have Jimmy Shulman and Ron Lipnicki in.
Yeah, I got to listen to that song and I actually really liked it a lot myself.
Which one?
The second one that you named.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I really liked it. It's very catchy.
Thanks.
You're welcome. What's the longest amount of time it's taken you to write a song?
The longest time. Well, I'm always writing riffs, and there's songs that okay. There's a song, the title track of the album, Dread the Dawn, contains a riff. It's all new riffs, but the chorus riff, the second riff in the song, I actually wrote it in 1994. So 1994, I've had this riff that I just always loved, and it's been sitting there for almost 20 years. It's 1994. What is that? That's over. Oh, wow. Way over 20 years. It's almost like 30 years, 28 years old. So I could say that the title track took me 28 years to write.
That's pretty impressive.
Cassius King, Dread the Dawn. It's a riff I was sitting on for 28 years that I always wanted to use, and I finally found a song that it fit for. Like sometimes I write complete songs in literally 10 minutes. If it's a short song, I can write it literally upstairs in my loft in 10 minutes. But and then there's other songs where you have a riff you love and it just doesn't seem to work with what you have the idea for, one day, and then a year or two later, it's like, oh man, this fits perfectly here. That happens occasionally. It's kind of really cool that I remember some of my riffs from 25 years ago that I never used.
That's awesome. It's almost like a jigsaw puzzle. You're missing that one piece and you got to put it right there wherever it belongs.
Exactly. Exactly.
I really like that answer. That's amazing.
Cool.
Is there anywhere that you haven't been on tour that you've always wanted to check out?
Well, I mean, I haven't toured. I probably only hit about maybe 9 countries and 25 states. Where haven't we ever played? Oh, every time I've ever had a show booked in Paris, it got canceled, and we couldn't get there, the visas or something. So I've never played in France. Every time there was a show booked, it just didn't happen. So that's a place I would like to hit. I've been to France on vacation, and I love France so much, but it never played a show there. So that would be fun.
Well, I hope your dream comes true for you.
Thanks.
You're welcome. How old were you when you first discovered music and you knew that you wanted to be a musician?
Well, I was 15 when I discovered Kiss Rock and Roll Over. But I mean, I don't know if you even heard of it. Partridge Family. Remember the Partridge Family TV show?
I do remember
that. I grew my hair long when I saw David Cassidy on the Partridge Family. So I liked the idea of looking rock and roll and being a musician when I was a little kid, but I didn't really grow my hair long until I got in maybe the 11th grade. I had the longest hair in school,
That's amazing. Was it longer than most people in your school, or?
Oh yeah. I mean, but back then, like the length it is now is probably how long it was in high school. But back then, 1979, that was kind of radical, you know. It wasn't normal. And then a couple of years later, my hair is literally, you know, halfway down my back, you know.
That's really neat. I was born in 79, so that's nice.
Okay.
Earlier, we were talking about you being in Elmira, New York tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to a tattoo convention.
That's awesome. I got friends in Elmira.
Okay, well, tell them there's a big convention at the First Arena, which is the hockey arena, I believe, in Elmira, New York. There's a tattoo convention by Skin Art Magazine. So if they want to get tattooed or just check out some great artists, you know, or a good time, that's where I'll be all weekend.
What would you say has been the most gnarly tattoo that you've done on someone?
Well, I'm not an artist. I just receive tattoos. I work in the business, but I guess that one hurt the most. But I have a pretty high threshold for pain. Even that one didn't hurt. But I'm not a tattoo artist. I just sell supplies for a company called Painful Pleasures.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you did some of the artwork or if you
No,
had
nobody would
music
want me
done
to
on
tattoo
people.
them. No, I can write a riff, but no artistic ability, Al.
Hey, that's quite all right. You know, this tattoo right here for Zyklon, that one really hurt.
I'm
It took
sure.
2.5 hours, and within 2 days, it kind of looked like I had a sunburn and it didn't want to swell down. So I was like,
Mm.
I'm gonna have to look at that for a while. And it's backwards, but that's okay. It still serves
You
its
got to
purpose.
get this thing called recovery derm. After the artist is finished, you wrap the tattoo in recovery derm. You'll have no problems after that.
I'll have to keep that in mind. Recovery derm, you said, right?
Yep.
That's awesome. Are there any bands that you haven't shared the stage with that you want to?
You know, I feel like I've opened up for everybody, all the bands I love, but never opened up for Clutch, never opened up for Metallica, but I've opened up for Megadeth and Slayer and Anthrax and Danzig, Nuclear Assault, Manowar, Alice in Chains, a lot of bands. So yeah, I would say Metallica is on that bucket list, but I don't see that happening.
Well, if it happens, congrats in advance.
It's not going to happen.
Well, never give up, you know?
Well, it's not like I'm dying to do it. It would just be, it'd be obviously cool to be on stage with the biggest metal band in the world, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's funny because I write music myself, you know, and sometimes I'll sit there and I'll look at my guitar and I'll be like, okay, I've played this riff 25 times. What am I, Slayer? No. It's kind of funny because I mentioned to my brother one day, today, you want to be like Slayer? Just play the same note 500 times.
I love Slayer.
I do too. I mean, I'm not trying to knock on them. It's just that some of the notes are pretty similar
It's
in some
okay.
songs,
Yeah. Hey,
but
look
their
at, I love
sections don't.
AC/DC. Yeah, look at Bon Scott AC/DC or even the new AC/DC. I mean, it's the same 7 chords, but it's awesome.
It's amazing. It just grabs your attention. Like, okay, I can get into that.
Yep.
That's one thing I love about music. If you got a good beat, got a good riff, and if it's catchy, I'm going to listen to it. But if it sounds like the same thing, like over and over and over, that repetitiveness, you know, it just drives me bonkers.
Yeah.
There's some bands that can pull it off, and some bands are just like, well, I'm going to shove this to the side for a while, but who knows? Anything's
Okay.
possible, you know?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I'm trying to think what else I can ask you. Usually I have a list of questions next to me, so I didn't even get prepared for this one. So
That's
forgive me for
okay.
that.
I can just tell you what I'd like to promote if that's okay.
Yeah. Tell
All
us
right.
more about your promotion.
So my name is Dan Lorenzo. I was the founding member of the band Hades. I then went on to start a band called Nonfiction. I did a really cool record in 2007 that nobody knows about called The Cursed Room Full of Sinners. Bobby Blitz from Overkill was the singer. Then I did 3 solo albums. And actually, I guess I did the solo albums before I did The Cursed. But then I took a 10-year hiatus and I discovered a singer from a band called Ancient Wisdom called Nathan Opposition. And we started a band called Vessel of Light. We did 4 albums. Jimmy Shulman, my bass player, and Ron Lipnicki, the drummer for Cassius King, they played on the last 2 Vessel of Light albums. And I hope everybody checks out Cassius King's first album, Field Trip. Our new album is Dread the Dawn. And I also, like I said, I have a band with Johnny Kelly called Patriarchs in Black. Johnny was the drummer for Typo Negative and Danzig. He's currently playing every weekend with Quiet Riot. And we have a great album called Patriarchs in Black, Reach for the Scars. Both albums are on MDD Records in Europe. And of course, digital everywhere. And that we also have a label called Nomad Eel Records that released the Cassius King CD. And they have some vinyl and even cassettes. So I hope everybody can check out my music. My website's danlorenzo.net.
That's good to know. I'll definitely check that out.
Thanks.
You're welcome, dude. I didn't even know Johnny Kelly was playing with Quiet Riot.
Yeah, the last couple of years, and it's crazy because it's all different. Nobody's from the original band, but there's still a demand for it. And he says, you know, Frankie Bonelli was a great drummer, and it's an honor for him to be playing drums for songs Frankie played on. And Johnny is like the greatest guy to work with. I'm so happy working with him, and we're already starting work on the second Patriarchs in Black album. So that's an album you got to check out after we hang up. Patriarchs in Black, Reach for the Scars.
I'll definitely check that out. Might do a review on it if I like it.
All right, cool.
I know I missed Typo Negative. I'm sure you missed Typo Negative as well.
They were great. We played with them a bunch of times. Yeah, great live band, phenomenal.
I think it would be impossible to try and replace Peter Steele because no one had that deep, bassy type voice that he had.
Yeah.
And it just bellows in your ears when you listen to it, and it just, just shakes your head around a little bit like, whoa, that's a little creepy, but at the same time, this guy's voice is amazing.
Yeah, he's a one of a kind.
I wish I could sing that deep, but I'm lucky if I have bronchitis, I can do it that way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the next question I would like to ask you is, does Cassius King have any upcoming shows?
Well, no, not right now. Jason McMaster just sang with Accept last week. He did 4 shows filling in for Mark Tanillo from Accept. And Jason is back in Texas. But Jimmy Shulman and I are going to Miami Beach together in December, and we're going to start rehearsing again in January with Ron Lipnicki. So hopefully things will start moving after that.
That's really awesome. While you're on tour, have there ever been any moments that you would consider life-threatening? Like, say, you lose a tire or you accidentally hit another car?
Yeah, 2 times I can think of. And I think they were both one was Kansas, one was Nebraska. When I was in Nebraska one time, it was snowy and cold out, and I was looking for a place to clean our laundry. And because it was so cold out, I had my hands in my pockets. And I ran up to a police car to ask him if he knew where a laundromat was. The guy took his gun and basically pointed it at me. He said, "Don't ever run up to a police car with your hands in your pocket." So that was a lesson well learned. And then another time we were driving a van home. I think we were driving home from Denver. And my roadie, the van driver, it was snowing, and it was snowing really hard. And he decided to pull over. And we were just going to get some sleep because we couldn't afford a hotel. And when I was like looking around, I'm like, he didn't pull over. He's in the middle of the effing highway right now. Like, dude, wake up. We're in the middle of the highway, and get off the highway if we're going to pull over. We're going to stop to sleep, So those are 2 times that I remember.
I can only imagine how interesting that would have been.
Oh, and in Switzerland, I think I almost got stabbed in Switzerland. We had a bus driver who had a breakdown. Not a bus driver, he was a merch guy. And he had it out for me that day. Like, we were fine the whole tour. And that day he woke up and he was just angry at everybody. And we found out later, I was sitting on the bus in Switzerland. I saw a whole bunch of police pulling up, and it ends up he stabbed somebody just out of the blue, So glad it wasn't me.
Well, thank God it wasn't you. Yes, indeed. I'd be like, oh shit, this guy's coming at me with a blade, better watch out.
Yeah.
Either run or duck, because you don't know if that guy's gonna throw it or try to be like this,
Yeah.
You'll have to defend yourself, you know.
Yep.
But remember, people, don't run up to a cop car with your hands in your pockets.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah, I never even knew that was a thing. So,
Well, I learned that day it was a thing. Yeah, don't do that.
well, the next question I have for you is what bands have inspired you as of lately? Like, are there any new bands that you're listening to?
My wife just turned me on to one song by a band called 68 that I really liked. Doesn't sound anything like, it's not really metal, but I think I heard they opened up for Korn, so maybe it is metal. Maybe the rest of their songs are metal. There's not a ton of new music I listen to, but I want to say my producer J Rod, he has a band called Return to Darkness that they just released their first album. It's kind of like a thrash album. And my bass player Jimmy Shulman has a band called Dreams of Venus that it's his old band from the early '90s, and they just unearthed the recordings, and they're releasing an album in January on Helvin Records, and the band is called Dreams of Venus. They just released their first video, and the song is stuck in my head. So look out for Dreams of Venus and Return to Darkness.
I'll definitely check that out as well.
Cool.
Got a lot of stuff I got to check out.
Yeah, right. We better end this interview, man, because I got to get back to work, and you got stuff to check out.
That's right. Well, my last question for you, Dan, is this. Do you have any last words for Underground Noise Webzine?
No, just please check out, my Instagram is Dan Lorenzo CK, and I'm hoping everybody will check out the new all the Cassius King albums, both Cassius King albums, Patriarchs in Black, Reach for the Scars, and the 4 albums I did with Nathan Opposition and Vessel of Light. Hopefully you guys will check it out.
Thanks for your time today, Dan. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was great meeting you.
You as well, dude.
Have a good day.
Thanks, you
By the
too.
way, thank you, Al.
You're welcome.